This is my grandmother. What's your name?
Marguerite Holender, born Gorodiskas.
And where were you born?
I was born in Paris, France,
In what year?
1933.
And how do you know me?
You are my granddaughter.
So I'm doing a presentation for Holocaust Remembrance Day. So obviously I wanted to have your story told since you are one of the few living Holocaust survivors.
And I appreciate that.
So I just want to make sure that nobody ever forgets these stories. They're so important to keep telling, right?
Right. When you forget, it starts all over again. Yep.
So thank you for telling your story for all of us, and say hello to my friends at Cambridge Health Alliance.
Hello, everyone of Jesse's friends.
Thanks, Grammy.
I do not remember very much about my life until I was 6 years old. It's almost as if it started then. I was put on a train with other children to go for a month of fresh air that the city of Paris was paying for children who could not afford it. So I went. I did not know anybody on the train, felt lost, but when I arrived, a woman came to pick me up and took me home. We lived in one room in a very little tiny village in the center of France. There was maybe three little farms there, and that was about it. She was very nice to me, and I liked her very much. I stayed with her for 1 month, and I was supposed to be put back on the train to go back to my family at that time, when my father had a letter written to her asking her if she could keep me longer, and he would pay her what the city of Paris had been paying her, because things were starting to rumble in Paris and it was not safe, and my father felt that I would be much safer in the country. And he was right, because this is actually what saved our lives. But a year after I had started to be there, my parents came. It was getting very, very bad in Paris, and it was not just for Jews, it was for everyone. Everyone was leaving Paris. So the trains were being bombarded, they could not take the train. They walked 350 kilometers from Paris to where I was. It took them 8 days and nights walking, being bombarded. When they arrived, my mother's feet were all bloody, and they said that the roads were littered with dead people, with blankets, with carriages, with dogs, with toys. It was just terrible. One night, we heard a very powerful knock at the door. We all woke up, and my mother said, "Who is it?" Police opened the door. So my mother said to my father, "You know what? Benzoud, that was his name, ran out through the back window, and maybe you'll be safe." And he said, "What if there's a guard in the back of the window?" So he didn't. He didn't go, he stayed. And my mother opened the door. It was, I don't remember if it was 2 or 3 policemen coming in, saying to my father, "Get dressed and come with us." My mother said to him, "Take a blanket with you, you need it." The policeman said, "Where he's going, he will be given everything he needs. He does not need to take anything with him." And before he left, I remember, like if it was today, he said, "Now, I will see you at the end of the war." We thought that, the Germans were taking the Jews to work, to do everything they needed to be done. We did not know yet what was happening. to the Jews.
After about 1 year, my father came back. He knocked at the door, and there he was. It was still during the war. It was in 1943. He said that he had been liberated from the camp in which he was, and he had been there for a year. He said that one evening the Germans came and asked him for his passport, which he had hidden, and asked him if he was Russian or Lithuanian. I don't know what he answered. I don't remember at the time he told us. But whatever he said was the right answer. And the next morning they told him that he could leave, that he was free. He was sick. He needed surgery. He had an ulcer, and we could not afford. We didn't have any money to pay for it. So my aunt, who at that time had moved to a little city 30 kilometers away from where we lived, had some Jewish friends there, some that she knew, and one of them was a very comfortable Jewish man. She told him the story of my father, and he said that he would pay for the operation. So my father went to the hospital, and this gentleman paid for the operation. And maybe a month later, we found out from my aunt that this gentleman and a few other Jewish people had been thrown in a well by the Germans. My mother became pregnant. My brother was born 9 months later, of course, and we named him after this gentleman. His name is Gilbert.
And I remember when we were told that France was liberated, it was a very small village, and everyone went outside in the little town center and started to sing La Marseillaise. Thank you so much.